All right, I just want to give this message out because people need to understand the dynamics of what's really going on right now. You got to understand something that right now the so-called Negroes or indigenous people of the Americas, and the Lord has woken us up to know exactly who we are. We understand we're not from Ham. If you read the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, it tells you that Ham, the progenitor of the dark races, born 96 years before the floods, they found the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, and the Canaanites, but not the Negroes. We're from Shem. And saying that, when you go to Ezekiel 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, you got to learn something. A lot of people keep talking about the Lord is coming to rapture the church. That's not in the original Bible. The original Bible lets you know, and even when you go in Ezekiel, it'll tell you in chapter 34, 35, 36, that he's going to gather the 12 tribes of Israel from the four corners of the earth where they were taken into slavery. And before he does that, he was going to put his spirit on his people to remember who they were. Remember, the scripture said, "I'll make you drunk, but not with strong wine. I'm going to take your prophets and your seers away." So that happened. So when you see the situation happen in Alabama, and I do security, so I understand what that gentleman was going through when he asked the guy just to move his boat. He just said, "Hey, can you just move the boat? It's in the wrong spot." But you have people who came into this land, our land, what you call the Americas. When you go to the book of 2nd Ezra, you learn that in the time of Hosea, that the 10.5 tribes came to the Americas. And when they came to the Americas, you got to understand something. That when they did this, that the Lord gave them what you would call the land of milk and honey, which is you call the land of Canaan or the land of Goshen, where he put his borders up and that his children would be there in the last days. And this is where we're at. And so when you read American Holocaust, you'll learn that these so-called Europeans came in with 100 horses, 100 soldiers, 20 horses, 20 pit bulls, and bull mastiffs. This is after the smallpox plague, where we had 140 million of our people here, and it brought the population down to probably about 40, 45 million or so. We didn't come over the seas. The Atlantic slave trade was a big lie. It's a whole big lie. Alex Haley was sued, and now we're finding out that the slave trade was done in reverse. So when you see people like these here, behind me right here, who are starting to fight when the guy just asked to move because they feel entitled with their boats and all of this and their luxury, you understand? The guy just said it and then they attacked him. Well, I'm going to let you know something. Those days where we used to be attacked and we sit back and stand are gone. They're gone. If you ain't noticed in Africa with Ham's children, how they get all the colonizers out of there, huh? They're not taking it no more. Why? Because everybody's tired of being used. Everybody's tired of their land that's been stolen, their resources stolen. When you deal with the banking, when you deal with the indigenous people of the Americas, it's so unfair. You can't get loans. I don't care. It's hard to get loans, and they take you through so many hoops. When you deal with education in the Americas, everything is basically whitewashed. It's a big lie. Most of the things that you taught in the history you've been taught is a big lie, because they had to hide who the indigenous people were. And then in 1718 and so forth, they took our names that were Indian, Chickasaw, Blackfoot, Cherokee, all these different tribes. And what they did was made us change them to the American names. And when they did this, guess what happened? You lost the rights to the land. But the Lord is coming to restore this. And that's why when you go in Ezekiel, you learn that when you have Gog, Magog, and Moab, Russia, Iran, and China, when they get ready to come in, and when they do come, and they're coming, because the Lord's got a fish hook in his mouth. Read it. He said, when you got a fish hook in a fish mouth, they got to come whether they want to or not. We know that when you're dealing with Russia, they got all these weapons they're sending to Ukraine. That's a fish hook. When you're dealing with China, Moab, you're also dealing with a nation that in Taiwan, they're sending weapons and all this over to Taiwan. That's a fish hook. Then you deal with Iran, Persia. You got to understand another thing. They killed their general over there. And they're still pissed off about that. Not only that, they know that they're behind a lot of proxy wars. The so-called daughter of Babylon, who sits on many waters. Because America has bases on 2,300 some odd waters. So it says that all merchants that bartered and trade with her are going to do what? They're going to turn on her. And folks, right now, all these nations are turning on her daughter Babylon. And not only that, the Lord is putting a spirit on his people inside of the daughter Babylon to not take it from the colonizers anymore. And if they mess with one, get this, in the past, with Israel, the 12 tribes, if somebody or another nation, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Canaanites, the Jebusites, or any of these other nations, the Philistines, the Assyrians, you understand, when any of these nations will come up against one of us, they came up against all of us. It was war. But the Lord said, with us, Israel, the 12 tribes, we do something against each other, blood touching blood. He said that it was breaking laws. So right now, We have the mindset we used to have when we was with Moses and took out 25 nations. When we was with Joshua and 31 nations were taken out. And the Lord used us as a battle axe. Just like he said in the latter days, we're going to be the battle axe against the evil. But a lot of our own people are going to go. They're going to be gone. Why? Because they're worse than these other nations. Folks, we weren't called Gentiles until we did what they did. And we became like Gentiles. And then when we start doing the real things they do, we become strange damn heathens. And that is what has happened. Do you not see what's going on with the children in the Americas? Do you not see what's going on with the so-called housing? Do you not see what's going on with the so-called loans that they try to give out? Do you not see what's going on with the medicines that are being given out? And they're directing them at a certain demographic. And we don't have to do the math and figure that out. So folks, right now, the things that are going on right here that you see is coming to an end. Well, now when our people see one of us in trouble, it's not just one, they're not by themselves. We all come into it, just like we did in the past. Things have changed. It's not the same world that your grandparents lived in. It's not the same world that your mother lived in. Right now, the Lord is putting a spirit on the whole house of Israel, and it's to let them know who they are, what land he gave them, where they belong, and he's going to gather them from the four corners of the earth and take us up. And when he does, all hell is going to break loose on all these nations who use and abuse us. And trust me, it's coming, and it's coming real soon.